to Warhammer Workshop. My name is Amy, and I'm joined, as always, by JF. JF, hello.
Hello.
So, we missed out on last week, which, content-wise, is... so we do have the newest of the WarCry boxes. The final of the current season is available for pre-order and is coming out the day that this episode comes out. And that's a fun one. It really is. I feel like we just saw it, though, right? At Warhammer Fest?
The turnaround on some of these box sets is extremely quick. The same way we're going to talk about in a second, the pre-orders for Ashes of Fate just came out or are coming out today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also something we just saw at Warhammer Fest. And Warhammer Fest was what, end of April? And we're mid-May?
Yeah.
So it's been, 2-3 weeks? They are coming out pretty rapid fire.
Yeah.
Then again, at the same time, we are laying down we're setting the table for 40K 10th edition, which looks like it's going to be a massive set of releases.
Yeah. So yeah, things are going to be pretty 40K heavy here for a bit.
Which is our forte.
It is definitely our knowledge base. So as JF said, we have KillTeam Ashes of Faith available for pre-order this week. This is a cool box. So we got this box from our good friends at GW. It's a lot of models because when you think about how many cultists there are, it's a lot of models. Just the chaos size.
The box lies a little bit about what you're going to see because you have there's a few of the models. It's just Sisters of Silence, and they show you one model and then times 5.
Right.
So you get the illusion that there's fewer models in there than there actually are.
Yeah, it's quite a few. I did build the Inquisitor models or Inquisition models. What are they actually calling them? Whatever. But
they're not the Inquisitor because there's no
Inquisitor.
actual Inquisitor.
Right. But the Inquisition models are stunning. I want to say, so this is like a cool thing that I have not seen on a Games Workshop model before. So we've got the guy with the scroll that has writing on it. The writing is on like it's in the plastic, like you put a wash on it and congratulations, you're not painting tiny writing. It's wild.
I'm of two minds for that one.
You can fix it. If you wanted to do it, like a quick little, quick coat of the liquid putty and it's gone. But if you don't want to.
It's just one more step for something. It's fine. I really like putting on my own writing. I don't think it's ever been anything that one would consider complicated.
No.
But I can see how, especially with the move to contrast paints, the idea of just being able to toss on a wraith bone and then a
skeleton
contrast
horde
of whatever brown you've got, and you're done. So I get it. It's one of those things where even though I'm in favor of it, it goes against the grain for me.
Sure.
I'm gonna live with that.
Okay.
Take one for the team.
There you go.
So to speak.
You do get a fair few extra bits in there. And then all of those cultist sprues and the Sisters of Silence sprues and the Tempestus Scion sprues, those are just the sprues. They haven't made pared down versions for this box. It's just the thing out of the regular box.
No, and one of the most egregious example of that is you get a decal sheet that has 4 decals, tiny, like a row of decals about yay long,
they're minuscule,
4 inches wide by a quarter of an inch tall. This is the share of decals that are for the Sisters of Silence on that decal sheet. The rest is just a bunch of crap that you will not need for this box.
No,
but it's there.
Yeah.
And
I now have I have a
that's
folder
the philosophy for the box.
Yeah, I have a folder of it's a cool box, but it does feel a little bit fillery. You
How so?
know,
Because I'm approaching this box as a different person from a week ago.
okay. So
So how is it filler?
I, the books are it that's like the key thing. Like I guess that's the part of it, right? Is they're like, "Hey, we wrote this book and instead of making you go out and buy all these models, this is the opposite of those final Cursed City expansions, right? This is the exact
Right.
opposite. Um and yeah, they're not saying you already have these models, so here's your Inquisition force and and your books and have a great day. This is all of the model. Like it is self-contained and it's an entire self-contained campaign,
Yes.
which is
And that's the
yeah.
exciting part.
Yeah,
Is
that's
because
the
it's a
really good
different way of
part.
playing.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, I guess it's just that it's like a giant box of plastic and almost none of it is new. Is I guess the part that
well, a
feels
large
different.
portion of the Inquisitor helper, like the B team of the Inquisitors, those are new
Oh, that's
models.
all
And
new. But that is one
yeah,
sprue.
and I have a feeling that these are models that we are going to see being used in the Agents of the Inquisition. I don't know if it's going to be a codex, but we are getting index cards for
Mm-hmm.
Agents of the Inquisition. So I have a feeling these guys are going to slide in there. And maybe the idea of getting that box out with these models has to go hand in hand with those index cards.
Sure. That makes
That
sense.
being said, the box also has a couple of interesting features. You get some tracker sheets that are
Mm-hmm.
very glossy, plastified type things,
Yeah.
and removable stickers to put on them so that you can track your campaign as
Yep.
it goes. Which is a strange feature that we've never seen in Games Workshop products before.
I mean,
The
they have traditionally used these box games as ways to try things out. So, I mean,
and
we're gonna talk about that in a little bit, with some of
definitely.
these armies that we've gotten previews for.
Yes, I'm very eager to jump into that. What strikes me about Ashes of Faith is it seems to be a sort of in between your normal kill team game and a box game like Curse
Yeah.
City or Blackstone Fortress, in the sense that you've got these very weird, like Blackstone Fortress had like these sealed envelopes with extra mission cards and
Yes.
information and all that kind of stuff. And the removable stickers and the way of actually managing the campaign has that same weird sort of parallel approach to gaming
Mm.
that those envelopes sort of evocated for me.
Yeah.
So I played my first Kill Team game in a year and a half last
Sure.
weekend, and it reminded me how awesome Kill Team is and how much fun it can be and how easy and quick it is to set up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going from a point of view of someone who was, yeah, Ashes of Faith. Sure, all right, fine. That's it's cool. It's neat to really wanting to dig in
Mm-hmm.
because I've been sitting on Blackstone Fortress for years now, wanting to play it,
Yeah.
and that seems like an appropriate sort of in between that I could get into.
Yeah. Also, up this weekend, we have the Siege of Cathonia Horse Heresy book. That's the campaign for over there, as well as the Vindicator Siege tank, if you're feeling a little heresy.
Mm-hmm. Those tanks are wonderful.
Yeah. Um, the big ramp up to this new edition seems to involve an awful lot of made to order models. I don't entirely know why, but here we are. So we've got the Primaris Company champion, the Blood Angels captain in Terminator armor, Brother Corbulo, Captain Tycho, Gabriel, Company Master, Flesh Terror shoulder pads. What I feel like at this point I kind of feel like they're just pulling molds at random off of a shelf and going, I guess this is what we're doing this week.
It's This is one of those moments where I would really like to see what the reasoning is behind the choices, because I don't necessarily disagree
Oh,
with
I don't
it.
either.
It's fine, but at the same time, why specifically that? Are they really just filling time? Like the resin casting section of the factory isn't doing anything, might as well have them do
Sure,
some
make some stuff.
made to order stuff to you know keep busy because we're revving up. It's the calm before the storm for 10th edition. So
I like to
I
think
don't know.
everybody else, like everybody's moved to like the plastics and packaging, and there's just one guy just making space marines one at a
Just
time in resin.
a little older, like gray
Yeah.
beard, and once in a while someone just walks in and they open the door, it just disturbs a bunch of dust and
Yeah, it's a quiet life.
yeah.
From Forge World, we have Lord Castellan Evander Garrus, the tyrant of Chthоnia, and Varen Asherdon, the master of the True Sons, which that Sons of Horus model is so good. So those are our two big like leaders of this Chthonian fight. And then there's the Infernus Abomination. I'd forgotten about him.
How
He's
could
real
you?
weird. I know, I can't believe I forgot, but he's weird. And there. Uh, and we're also getting the rest of the Contemptor Dreadnought torsos.
I'm gonna have to take a look at those
Yeah, they're so good.
for reasons.
Yeah, I need to like commit to sitting down and making it happen. Oh, we also have the Despoiler Squad upgrade set. Hey there, chainswords. What's up?
You've been waiting for some chainsaws, haven't you?
I sure have. And then in Necromunda, this is another model that I was super excited about and then completely forgot that it existed because like this is the thing, right? It's either 2 weeks between the announcement and the pre-order, or it's so long that I forget the model exists, and then they're like,
And
"Here you go," and I get to
here's
get
the thing:
excited about it again.
some of these previews are occasionally so detailed and so well informed that, like, this model comes out, and we're talking about the dust waste dude with millisaurs.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yep.
I could have sworn it was out.
Right.
It's like,
Probably
oh, this is
because we
coming
got
out.
so excited about it that we talked a lot about it.
and and because there's so much other things going on, and maybe this is going to be a problem for Games Workshop moving forward when they have too many things going on, because so much was going on, I wasn't giving a second thought to Necromunda, and thus this comes out and gets released or released on pre-order, and I'm like, oh yeah, huh.
Yeah. I might be making some big hobby plans, and Necromunda is like on my short list of things I really want to do. So,
Good game.
yeah. So that wraps up the pre-orders. I'm gonna go ahead and say right now that the entire rest of our content is all 40K related because this is where we're at. We've gotten a whole bunch of faction focuses.
Yes.
Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite that you want to talk about first? Because it legitimately does not matter in which order we cover these.
Well, we've talked about a few of them, haven't we?
The last time we recorded, we only had Space Marines and Tyranids. Tyranids.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
there's
is
a lot that we
to
haven't
discuss.
covered, so we're not gonna probably get to everything.
Well, I'm
but
gonna start.
We can talk about like our favorite part of any one of those things if we want.
Right, because all of that information is available
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you
yeah.
at warhammercommunity.com. And if you're looking for a specific one, don't bother scrolling through the list of
No.
articles. Just pick the most recent one, scroll to the bottom, and you'll have a list of all the ones that are out yet.
It's very good.
There's no roadmap to those.
No.
There's no rhyme of reason. The only logical progression was Space Marine and Tyranids, because that's what Ensign Leviathan.
Yep. It has been.
After that,
Yeah.
it's random.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I assume there might be a logic, maybe because there's probably certain rules that they want to show before others are shown.
Right.
But
we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
We are not privy to that internal knowledge.
So I want to talk about Death Guards because they came out today.
They sure did, and you were
they
very
are
excited.
glorious. So just a little bit of anatomy of what you get in one of those previews. is you get the army rule,
Yep.
which is generic for the entire army.
Faction.
Then you
Let's
get
call it
the detachment. Sorry,
the
the faction rule.
faction rule.
Yeah. Well, if I
As
look at the
opposed to
card,
your
it says
army.
army rule.
Does
It
it?
does say army rule.
No, it
Like if
does.
you go look
You're
at
right.
the Death Guard one, it's
You're right,
army
but
rule.
the headline of the section says faction rules, which is where I was getting it all confused.
No.
Consistency Games Workshop. Let's go. No, you're correct.
But
Carry
I
on.
think they say if faction, because faction rules includes the army rule and it also
Oh, that's
includes the
true.
detachment rule.
Fair.
So they
Understood.
have a blanket statement. It's so fun playing these games because you need to learn and understand a completely new glossary of terms.
And words that you thought you knew what they meant don't mean that anymore.
So I just want to go through very quickly like the anatomy of these things
Yeah.
so that we have a point of discussion. So you get your army rule and you get your detachment rule. You get a single detachment in the index. So that's going to be your detachment until either a codex or another publication gives you more detachments for your army.
Right.
Then they give you a unit spotlight, which is usually 2 units, something that's more rank and file-ish, and then something like a character or a unique character or Lord of War.
Yeah.
You get a weapon spotlight just so you can see some of the special rules that are specific to the weapons characteristic of the army.
Mm-hmm.
We get a stratagem spotlight, and then a few words from the studio on their design philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
and then some Black Library references in case you want to read up on the faction and
love that
get to know
part.
the fiction for it.
This is my new, like, I used to sell people on the Getting Started in 40K book, like the little $8 magazine that comes with 2 models. This is A+, man. This is good stuff.
It is good. Like, this is written clearly for people who already have an idea of the game, obviously. Like, this isn't, I wouldn't necessarily toss a new player as this. But as far as how comprehensive this goes to describing each of these armies as teasers, it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, they have been, for the most part, extremely characterful. And the Death Guard, as far as I'm concerned, is up there because I am. that is the kill team I played last weekend, so very fresh in mind, as fresh as Nurgle can get. And I'm very excited to see that they're leaning into the disease and resilience of the Death Guard.
It's very good.
It's so to give you an idea, and we're not going to do all of them, but like Nurgle's gift is the army rule. That means that your entire army benefits from this.
Yeah.
And it is basically an aura that every one of your units has that reduces the toughness of any enemy models within that aura. And the great thing is, the first round, it starts as a tiny little 3-inch aura. And the second round, it's a 6-inch, and then it's a 9-inch. So as the battle progresses, your aura grows.
They did have a similar rule. Like, I don't know if it was I don't think it was army-wide, but there was a similar mechanic in this previous edition.
Yes. But I think you had to, like, choose a contagion, and there was...
Yeah.
Like, there was a little bit more complication to it. I can't remember if it was progressive as far as like the size of the influence.
Yeah, it was.
So it's very cool. And one of the things that they do, because then you also have the detachment rule called spread the sickness.
I love this.
And this is what I like about the way they're approaching this, is that everything has a certain symbiosis to it. And in this case, the symbiosis is that when you control an objective, even if you move away from it, you keep it, which is a mechanic you see a lot so far.
Yeah, but it is the Chaos Space Marine one, so it makes sense here. Like their logic behind it works because they are technically Chaos Space Marines, so this all thematically works. But then
and you see the same thing for the World Eaters too. They do the same thing, but what happens is that when they control an objective, that objective gets corrupted specifically to that Chaos God. World Eaters have their own thing. This one means that the Nurgle's gift, the aura, gets applied to the objective.
Yep.
Making it a little annoying to get control of. And you see a lot of that type of synergy. The unit spotlight is the Blight Lord Terminators, which I hope these cost a bazillion points. They are They're monstrous.
Yeah.
We're talking about toughness 6, a 2+, 4+ save, weapons that are insane. And they get bonuses for shooting units that are closer. So starting at turn 3, when you're fighting units that have -1 toughness at 9 inches, and then you're getting bonuses to wounds and rerolls. It just makes it massive. It
Yeah.
all fits. It's very characterful,
Yeah.
which is great. I love it.
Mm-hmm. The
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 those
malignant.
are the highlights of what really got me. But
Yeah,
yeah,
those are so good. They keep. I'm always the weapon profiles that they show off are never like the one I want to see, and so I'm like, fine.
but
Um,
they're the ones that are most characterful to the army.
they are. They are. Uh, so yeah, I like that they also have things like the stratagem that they show you do benefit from a corrupted if you like you get like it's yeah this happens but if you are near a corrupted uh objective marker then it's better.
And
Fantastic.
that is also a mechanic you see a lot.
Yeah.
Is usually whatever the army rule is, you'll have stratagems that synergize with that army rule, which
Yes.
is great.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the kind of thing. This is very reminiscent, actually, of the synapse rule and stratagem for the endless
Yes.
swarm. That endless swarm units, like that, you use a stratagem if they're within synapse range, you get a benefit from that. They just regenerate more models.
Yeah.
It's fairly glorious the way they synergize it, the way they simplify things.
Mm-hmm. So
None of this is complicated.
here's my question. Because we're gonna talk about a few more of these armies here. But so, like you've said, a lot of these things feel like they have rules that are sort of similar, but they give them a characterful spin. Do you think that like how much do you think that this is going to carry through in actual gameplay? Like, are they going to start to feel similar gameplay wise? Even though we know, like on paper, it's like, oh, but it's corrupted, or you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like we're seeing a lot of similar rules, and I am slightly concerned that they'll start to feel samey same.
The thing. I think it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
This is very like this is my own opinion on this, not necessarily like a general rule, but I feel it's a balancing act. One of the problems that we have currently is that it feels like every stratagem, every unit has a special rule, and on top of that, you have a bunch of stratagems that are the same with different names.
True. That's true.
I believe you need a certain overlap between things that are the same so that there is a certain consistency and it's easier to communicate what certain things do.
Mm-hmm.
But then to have that little twist of difference.
Right.
Like, yes, these units, when they leave an objective, that objective remains controlled. But and
Right.
it's the but that needs to be like not too complex but additional, and that makes links to the theme of the army.
Yeah.
So I feel like we want a bit of sameness just
Mm-hmm.
for simplicity's sake, as long as there is, especially on a unit per unit basis, some unique rules. And so far I think most units have had, if not a unique rule, a unique twist on a rule,
Sure.
except for gene stealers.
Yeah.
Gene stealers look, I love gene stealers, but they look a bit boring so far.
Mm. Mm.
Mm, mm.
So you brought up the synapse and regenerating wounds. And when we talked about this, I had said, "Good grief, what could this possibly mean for Necrons?" And then we immediately found out, and it means like a lot. So their army rule is reanimation protocols, as one believe, as is standard. And basically, at the end of your command phase, each unit activates its reanimation protocols and reanimates D3 wounds. And great. And those are either, you either refill models that are not at full health, or you bring back models till you hit your starting strength.
And this is this is the reanimation protocols we should have gotten years ago.
Yeah.
It is it is simple. It is straightforward. There's no oh, you need to fill the wounds of a multi-wound unit model before the model can be brought back. Otherwise, any
Oh yeah.
successes you roll don't
No,
like
they
none of
straight up
this.
tell you that it comes back with one wound. But presumably if you bring it back with one wound and you've still got, um
Right.
extra
Like if
wounds, you just put them back on there, no problem.
yeah, if you're bringing back a swarm with 4 wounds and you only roll 3 wounds, it comes back with 3 wounds.
Right.
So you're not wasting rolls, and it it feels powerful, but at the same time, there's so many things that have gone more powerful
Mhm.
in the sense like just that aura that removes toughness. There's a bunch of things like the demons have just regenerate when they fail, they fail or succeed some leadership
Yeah,
tests or
yeah.
some battle shock tests. So there's a lot going on that makes yeah that seems like oh they bring back a lot, but so does anybody, so does everyone else. Like everyone has a shtick. Like
Uh
it doesn't feel like anybody's left out cold.
no. But the Necron warriors, they bring back D6 instead of D3 unless they're near a controlled objective, in which case it's D3 plus 3. So if you're killing Necron warriors, you need to go ahead and kill all of them.
And unless something has changed, Necron warriors can be units of up to 20. Now, that being said, they are toughness 4, 4 plus. They're not the most resilient single wound models. They're
Right.
not they're not third edition Necron
No.
warriors.
No.
Um, Necron warriors in third edition had roughly the same stats, but back then actually they had a 3 plus back then. So, but a 3 plus back then was rare. That was Space Marine stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's everywhere.
Now it's everywhere.
But still, that's characterful. The Necron warriors are supposed to be the ones who get back up.
They are. Oh, absolutely. It's definitely characterful. We got the League of Votan, which they have
Mm-hmm.
their grudge, which is so good. Which is basically if you kill things of theirs, then they are better at fighting you because they have a bone to pick with you, and that is fantastic.
It's a touchy one though,
Oh, it
because
is because you're only getting bonuses if you're losing units. Now, the thing about that is that it almost feels a little like gambits, right? In that it can be sort of a tide turner, maybe.
right, and well, that's the thing. Like basically, the more you get hit, the stronger your army gets
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree.
Right.
At the same time, though, and this is kind of like the dichotomy of the League of Votan, is their whole thing is being tough.
Yeah.
They are supposed to be very difficult to take down. They're toughness 5 Hearthskin warriors. Like the Hecaton Land Fortress is essentially this is basically a copycat of a Land Raider.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be tough to kill. So if they're tough to kill, it becomes tough to get judgment tokens. So how much does your mechanic actually come in? And that's when the detachment rule
Mm-hmm.
comes in, because I don't know if is it just a detachment. There's
Yeah.
rules where you get to start the game and put down some judgment tokens.
Yeah, at the start of the battle, select one unit from your opponent's army. That unit starts the battle with 2 judgment tokens. And then, based off of when you are able to destroy that unit, you get command points.
Which is
so
neat.
good. Is this
And
the first command point gaining ability that we've seen so far?
no, there's a couple of units that have command points, not necessarily gaining, but preserving. Or
Sure.
rather, you do gain after using a stern stratagem.
Gotcha.
There's other ways that we've seen this sort of mechanic apply a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a way of rotating your minimizing your spending of control points.
Yeah.
Command points, sorry. But here's the thing. Unless there's been a big change, there could the call for the League of Votan, one of the HQ units, during every command phase, you would pick an enemy unit and give it a judgment token.
Yeah.
And seeing the type of synergy that we've seen between army rules, detachment rules, and stratagems, I wouldn't be surprised if there are stratagems where you just pay some command points and you get to put down some judgment tokens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the dying is going to be the only way to get judgments.
No.
So I'm not too worried about that.
Oh no, I'm not
But
worried
it's
about
an
it,
interesting
yeah.
it's this interesting approach.
Yes.
As someone who's building some new League of Votann, I'm very happy about it.
Let's
There is
see.
one
Go ahead.
there's one rule I want to talk about because of how great it is.
Okay.
It is bringing back Angron.
Yes.
So we got the World Eater rules. World Eaters are
So the
they're
World
generally
Eaters, I said earlier how they try things out in box games a lot, and the World Eaters are just playing their own game of WarCry.
Yeah,
as
which
part of the game.
They're one of those armies I couldn't care less about until I read those rules, and it's very rare that an army will be interesting to me because of the rules.
Sure.
But these are pretty great.
Yeah. So you roll...
So essentially,
go ahead.
At the beginning of the game, you roll 8 dice because 8 is Khorne's special number. And you keep those dice aside on whatever results you got. And then the army rules allows you to use these dice in various combinations, either doubles or double 3 pluses, double 4 pluses, triple 4 pluses.
This is how all the abilities in WarCry work.
Right. And in this case, it allows you to unlock certain abilities. And of course, you're essentially playing a complex game of blood Yahtzee. And the winner gets skulls for the skull throne. And this is great because this is how you unlock. You can unlock only up to 2 of these per battle round, so you can't be too excessive. And it's great because the more complex the combination of dice rolls you need, the more powerful the ability.
Yeah.
And if you get a double 6 or a triple 4 plus, you get to charge in the same turn that you advance, which is massive for Khorne players. And this brings us to Angron, who has, in the previous edition, 9th edition, had a rule when he dies, he can come back and all that. I can't remember the specific conditions. But now, he does it if you can use 3 results of 6 from your Blessing of Khorne roll. Which, because he's the most devil-looking character, being able to use 666 to bring him back from the dead is pretty good.
It's very good.
But on top of that, because Games Workshop has promised us that this edition would be simpler but not simple, they did make it like there's a lot of rules when things come back from the dead. And we've just talked about for Necrons, where they come back with partial wounds, etc. It's sometimes, especially for characters, it gets a little complex. Oh, it comes like Saint Celestine comes back with D6 wounds or whatever. No, Angron just comes back.
Well, he goes into reserves.
4 wounds. Yeah.
So you do still have to be able to get him out, which I did play a game at Adepticon where we were putting things from reserves into our own deployment zone because that was the only place we had, which was not ideal. But
well, to his defense, Angron does have 14 inches of movement and flies.
Oh yeah, he's fine.
He's fine. But the thing is, like, this is a 16 wound 2+4+ model with toughness 11. By the time you get him off the board the first time, anyways.
Yeah.
If he has to come back on turn 3 in reserve and then have to show up on turn 4, then he only has 1 turn to do something. So he becomes a little bit of his own gambit.
Sure.
So either he comes back late in game or somehow he dies on turn 1 and this is just your mulligan for Angron.
Yeah.
And that's all assuming you get your dice.
Oh yeah, because that's not
3
easy.
6s is There are some rules to modify those rolls or get extra rolls, but still.
Yeah. It's
It's all
good.
so good. It's all so good the way it synergizes within the army.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Uh,
also one of the things that's different from previous editions. It's none of this feels like they're not synergies because someone min-maxed a cheat code out of reading too much into the rules.
right.
These are intentional synergies that are clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
They're out in the open. Like, this is how the army is supposed to work. You're not breaking the system to get easy wins by doing these things.
Which I think is
You're
kind
playing the
of
game as intended.
that's part of the nice thing about only having one detachment in the index is it's like here you go. Like this is how we're all doing it right now, and then we can expand on it later, which is kind
Right.
of fun.
It feels very clean for
It
now.
does. It does. Uh, I know we're already running long, but the Eldari also get dice.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to they are fate dice. They are very similar to miracle dice, which also got streamlined. The fate dice is like one time at the beginning of the game, 12 dice. You can re-roll all of them, but you roll one less every time, which is fun. That's a fun gamble. There's a lot of there's less pre-game paperwork. There is more pre-game gambling. And
But the
I'm here for
pregame
that.
gambling is fun.
It is.
It's not like if I'm watching my opponent roll his fate dice for his Eldar and
Mm-hmm.
decide and struggle to decide if he's re-rolling with one less die or not, I'm invested. I want
Yeah.
to see that roll.
Yep.
If my opponent is sorting through 40 plus stratagem cards to try to whittle down the ones he wants to use in this game,
Yeah.
that is boring. I don't want to see that.
Yes.
So it is a stark difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. We were unsure how they were going to break this particular faction focus down because the bits that make up an Eldari codex are vast and varied.
Well, you basically have three armies in one.
Yeah,
I mean, you could argue the Yanari don't count because they're such a small faction,
sure.
but at the same time, you still have the Harlequins, which used to be their
Their
own
own codex.
codex
Yeah, it
and
was
got
only last
folded
edition
in.
that they got rolled back in. So,
Exactly. So,
who
but
knows?
this is generic enough; it doesn't matter.
Yeah. They do picture a Death Jester in that general army there. So maybe they're just mixing them all back together for real.
I feeling there's a Death Jester.
I think so.
Or is that Morgan Ra?
Oh, maybe it's
It looks
Morgan
like
Raw.
Morgan Ra.
You're right. They look so similar from
Yeah.
the tiny picture in the background. You're
To be
right.
completely fair, there is no sign of the Eldari in any of these, the Harlequins in any of
No,
these photos.
there's not. So who knows?
And I would not be sad to see them be broken apart again.
Yeah, and more.
That being said,
more
just
things.
talking about the fate dice,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are ways of moving those results too. A Farseer will allow
Yep.
you to change the results of one of your fate dice to a 6.
Mm-hmm.
There's fun things. It's so far, it's just very good.
Yeah.
Like not every rule is a massive banger,
No.
but enough of them
Yeah.
for each army
To have something fun
makes it
to
work.
do.
You're right. Like, it feels like the games are going to be fun
Yeah.
rather than whatever they were before. And that's the thing. Like, the games weren't boring before,
No.
but we've complained for years about how complex and how much paperwork there
Yeah.
was, and this seems to really take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because
The
keep
last
in
one.
mind, like, we're doing stratagem spotlights, but every detachment only has 6 stratagems.
Yeah.
That makes it easy.
Yeah. The last one I really want to talk about here, because we covered a lot of the Chaos Space Marine stuff while we were talking about the other Chaos Space Marines. I do want to talk about the Adeptus Mechanicus real quick. So they have their Doctrina imperatives, so you can basically decide which one at the beginning of your the beginning of the battle round. You decide which one is active, and it is active through the end of the battle round. And so you have the Protector Imperative, which ranged weapons have the heavy ability, or the Conqueror Imperative, and they have the assault ability. they have other stuff too. It's irrelevant. So that's fun, right? Because you get to decide you're a little more take on all comers based off of how your on how your gameplay is. You don't have to show up and go, well, I have not built an army that can do, I've leaned too hard one way or the other.
Right. It's very much it's a slightly more flexible approach than the adaptive biology for
Yeah.
the Tyranids.
Yeah.
You get fewer choices, but you get to change them every battle turn or
Right.
battle round.
And then their fun rule is their detachment rule, the rad bombardment, which if you too were born in the 70s or 80s, it feels different when you say it than they mean it. They mean it in the Fallout way, and that is not how I say it at all.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it really depends how, because right, like rad as in the short for radical, which
mhm,
meant very cool and awesome.
yeah,
That is one interpretation, and then there is,
the real one.
growing up in the 80s in
That's
the Cold
true.
War,
Ah,
where
we got them both.
radiation was, yeah, exactly. We get to live in with a foot in both these worlds. Like
Yeah.
if you as a kid saw the day after the day after, not the day after tomorrow, the day after,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're carrying some trauma.
So battle round 1 is the bombardment. At the start of the first battle round, for each enemy unit within your opponent's deployment zone, which, all right, so that's fun already because there are certain armies that are going to get away from this. Your opponent must decide whether that unit will take cover or stand firm. If a unit takes cover until the end of battle round, that unit is battle shocked. If a unit stands firm, roll 1d6 for that unit. On a 3+, it suffers d3 mortal wounds. All right, so we're already starting off strong.
It's pretty good because we haven't seen the Tau rules yet. And
No.
there's a lot of rules that make an army that is very weak in close combat, like the Tau, feel a little vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But a tease of a rule, because the AdMech are described as another shooty army.
Yes.
And having this rule that basically says, well, you either don't take damage, but then you're battle shocked and weakened, or
Mm-hmm.
you get some initial damage right from the get-go.
At least one. Yeah.
Right. So
it also makes, because
it's a good start.
we had some talk about models that had like scout abilities, right, where you can move them after they've been deployed, and how that sometimes doesn't really work out. Well, if you're playing against the Adeptus Mechanicus, you might want to get out of your deployment zone.
A lot. Like,
And then from battle round 2 onwards, it's the Fallout. At the start of the second, third, fourth, and fifth battle rounds, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within your opponent's deployment zone. On a 3+, it suffers 1 mortal wound. So all of those sit back and shoot armies? Yeah.
get out.
Get wrecked. It's good.
And that makes it all too real for that trauma I was just describing.
Yeah. It's very good.
It is.
I love it.
It's excellent, and it's
so
very
fun.
much in line with because the not the Skitari, but the Admech have had this radiation thing as part of their thematic since day one.
That's why they all have metal gun hands. It's from the radiation from the plasma. It just eats their bones. And isn't
Yes,
that
absolutely.
fun?
It's great.
But
like,
the AdMech
tell me
don't
again
care.
how
They're
this
like,
is not a dystopia.
lop it off and put a robot on. I'm here for it.
The flesh is weak.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that this is the first time, because Doctrina Imperative, which used to be a Skitari specific thing
Sure.
from the Skitari Codex, back when these were 2 codexes,
Oh, yeah.
and they've rolled the Canticles of the Omnissiah. Now, the Canticles are something that Belisarius Call has as his rule.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll see a weaker version of that for the Tech Priests.
Yeah.
But because now they've made it in a way that both of these things apply to the entire army and not based on whether you have the the priesthood of Mars or the Skitari keywords.
Right.
After a couple of additions, it finally feels like the priesthood of Mars and the Skitari are the same army.
Yes.
And that is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because that was one army, when we're talking about paperwork, that was one army that was a pain.
Yeah.
Because every command phase you had to choose your canonical and your doctrina imperative,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't function the same way.
Right.
It's not even, oh, I have to choose one for my secretary and one for my ad mech. It's okay, I have to choose a doctrina imperative, which has a positive and a negative, and apply it to my secretary. But I only get so many, and there's fewer of those, and there are battle rounds, so I need to be careful. But then there's the canonicals, which I can't reuse, but I can roll randomly. It was a nightmare. Like, it made you not want to play the army, or
Yeah.
when you did play the army,
You just skipped
lean
rules.
completely into like, I'm only gonna do Skitari.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about like simpler, not simple, like this is one where it's fine to be simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a lot.
And we have more coming. Like, I
There's
don't think
more.
we're even halfway through.
No, we're not. But it, we're getting there. It's all very exciting. The new edition's going to be here before we know it.
It's coming fast.
Yeah. I'm not ready. I'm never ready. It's fine.
I'm not ready because I want to have a combat patrol.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to start playing combat patrol when this comes out, just to get my feet wet. So good. So it seems like an interesting way of playing a couple of apparently balanced games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be able to know, am I losing because, and I won't have to worry that I'm losing because my army is weak. I'll be able to focus on the fact, am I losing because I'm not understanding or using the rules properly?
Right.
It's a good way of relearning the edition before I branch out to larger armies.
That's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
on Monday we're getting Imperial Knights, and then we don't know what's going to be after that. But no, not Monday.
No, tomorrow.
Imperial Knights will have be out.
Yeah, we'll get 2 more before this episode comes out, and that's fine. We'll cover them next week.
So good.
I am excited about Knights because I have no concept of what they're going to do. Knights aren't getting a combat patrol. That's worth mentioning, right?
That we know of.
That we know of. They weren't in the picture.
No. We'll see.
Yeah. They've come up with rules around it before. So
right.
We'll see. So I think that about covers it for this week, since this is extremely long already and we've talked an awful lot about 40K. Is there anything else you need to add?
Nothing except if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, do all the things that you're supposed to do. Hit the bell so you can get a notification when a new episode comes out.
Yep.
We've got some fun stuff. Our hands are a little tied for the release of 10th edition, but we've got a couple of things that are going to come out. I don't know if you've seen the video we did for our Titan, but that was an exciting one. Yeah. So take a look at that.
All of our contact information and social media is in the show description. And until next time, happy hobbying. Materials shown in this video are provided fully or in part by Games Workshop for promotional purposes. If you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping us a like and subscribing. Thanks for watching.